UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is on his way to Egypt today to engage in discussions with his counterpart regarding the Israel and Hamas war. During these talks, he will of course emphasize on the critical need to prevent any escalation in the region and minimize additional avoidable civilian casualties. Remember, viewers, the death toll has risen in Gaza to more than 4,000, and in Israel it stands at about 1,400. Of course, Rishi Sunak earlier visited Tel Aviv and had expressed his solidarity with Britain's close ally Israel. Following the meeting with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, he had stated that he quote-unquote grieves with Israel and stands with them, as well as the evil that is terrorism, and right now he is of course en route to Egypt. But joining us on the broadcast this morning to present perspectives is Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava, international affairs expert, as well as Major Mohammad Ali Shah, defense expert. I'd like to rope in Mr. Srivastava first. Sir, what do you make of this development and this visit by Rishi Sunak? Earlier, of course, Biden also has been touring in and around the Middle East to speak to his counterparts, and now Sunak is doing the same. What do you make of this?
Well, Pia, first of all, a very good morning to you. Good morning to my friend Major Shah and to all the viewers. Pia, I think these efforts, these diplomatic efforts by the world leaders, such as British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, is very significant. And I think at this point of time, I think the world leaders, those who believe in the international rules-based order, those who want to see the peace, security, stability in the world, in that Middle East region, those who want to, see the victory of, the rules-based, the leaders of the civilized world over terrorism, they all are of the view that this war against terrorism certainly must be fought and won. And as British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that this terrorism is evil, and this evil must be, defeated. And that is a resolve. There is no compromise on that. But yes, with regard to the other, side of this war, that is a civilian casualty. That must not happen. And to prevent such civilian casualties to take place anymore, because already the people of Palestine, people of Gaza, they are suffering very very hard. And the kind of attack that has happened on the hospital, and also the various kind of relocation they have done from northern Gaza to southern Gaza, that has led to a lot of difficulties for the common civilian people who had nothing to do with this fight between the Hamas and Israel. But these innocent lives, they are suffering hard. They have been, decimated through various kind of strikes, etc. So I think that kind of a civilian casualty, how it should be stopped and how it must be stopped, that is one of the key focus of British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's visit to Egypt. And another very very important point, probably the most important point here with regard to Middle East region, is that this war must not get escalated. And there must not be any escalation of this war, and this war and the real nature of this war must be understood very properly. That this is a war against Hamas, and Israel is fighting this war against terrorism. And this is not the war between Israel and Palestine. This is not the war between the Arabs and Israel and Muslims and Jews, etc. So such kind of very negative, fake narrative, which is being built by certain state and non-state actors and certain individuals in the international community, that must also be countered, and that must also be defeated. There has to be dialogue among countries, religions, civilizations, and that is the key focus. And if that happens, I'm sure that this war will be fought and won against terrorism, and also the terrorists which they wanted to disrupt this normalization process, the Middle East peace process, that will also go ahead after this kind of initiatives. So I think British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Egypt visit is a very significant one, and Egypt has had a very long-standing historical ties with Britain. And both the countries and leadership is a very responsible leadership. Egypt has already opened its Rafah border for the humanitarian aid to go inside Gaza, and many such initiatives are being taken. And another very important point which Egypt is taking this initiative is that Egypt is planning to organize a peace summit. And this in that Cairo Peace Summit, it is expected that the world leaders will participate, and many countries are going to be participating in it. And such kind of summits, such kind of a peace initiatives is the need of the hour, and Egypt is taking that
Indeed. And
initiative.
speaking of the Rafah crossing, apologies to interject, but speaking of the Rafah crossing, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has also stated that he welcomes the efforts by Egypt to open the Rafah border crossing and will continue working with leaders to find routes to peace. This crossing, of course, is very important because this is the point through which humanitarian aid reaches the people of Gaza city. Of course, but also joining us on the broadcast is Major Mohammed Ali Shah. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us on NewsX. What do you make of this development? And Sunak, of course, talking about and lauding the efforts of Egypt to open the Rafah border crossing and ensuring that humanitarian aid reaches the people of Gaza.
Most certainly, Pia. The very fact is the people of Gaza, who are innocent children, women, elderly, who haven't done anything wrong, who happen to be a simple common citizen of there. What is their fault? Because of Hamas's ill actions, which is a banned terrorist organization, because of their actions, the civilians have to suffer. It's so unfortunate. It is really, really unfortunate, and my heart cries seeing people from both the sides, from Israel, thousands of them, from Hamas, over thousands of them, suffering, dying, brutally being killed. And at the same time, though Israel had given them a 24-hour ultimatum that people should vacate Gaza because they are going to be launching an attack against an operation, a war against terrorism. So where will these people go, the civilians go? The very fact that all the other Arab nations, the neighboring nations, since Gaza and Palestine is surrounded by Arab countries, the Muslim countries, they had shut the gates. They had closed all the borders, so they didn't have anywhere to go. So where would they go? Even if firstly, it's impractical to vacate a place in 24 hours. Even in a normal situation, normal circumstance, with a family, we cannot vacate a place in 24 hours. It's very, very difficult. And if you're in the hospital, if you're in the ICU, it's even more difficult. A discharge on from the hospital itself takes 24 hours, leave alone a discharge from an ICU. Now, where will they go? The other Arab nations who had closed the gates. Now, Rishi Sunak steps in and he says, okay, earlier Joe Biden had gone there, he'd given a clean sheet to Israel as well, that the attack on the hospital where 500 people had died, it was not done by Israel, it was done by a rocket which seemed to be of an Islamic jihadist rocket. Fair enough, it could have been whatever. I mean, whoever did it, whether it was actually the Hamas accidentally, because Israel also took out a press conference, the military, they spoke about an audio which was leaked where Hamas officials or rather Hamas terrorists, the senior terrorists were talking about how, oh, don't tell me, Abu, such a thing happened and such things. Now the very fact, whoever did it, it's a loss to humanity. It's a loss to humanity. People have suffered. Now the very fact that Rishi Sunak says, okay, open the Egyptian borders for the humanitarian aid to come in, I think it makes sense. I think there should be humanitarian aid. I think there should not be any danger to humanity, to civilians. It is most unfortunate that innocent children, ladies, elderly are suffering in this war for no fault of theirs at all. So I think it really makes sense where Egypt actually opens their borders and for humanitarian aid to come in. And earlier Joe Biden had gone there, now Rishi Sunak's with it. It should, hopefully, it should bring in something. And now Egypt is planning to do a peace conference very soon, peace summit. And I hope that peace summit is fruitful and it really actually brings in peace, because at the end of the day, people are well-wishers of humanity, which should be supported around the globe, in fact, yeah.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.